Karibu sana to Morning Cafe. It is the 23rd day of July 2025. Good to have you on set. My name is Ann Odida.
161 days to the end of the year, meaning ni kama 155 days to Christmas. Tunaendelea pole pole tukisonga. 205 days into the year. Hii mwaka imeisha.
Imeisha. Na unajua when you umesema 155 days to Christmas, ukitoa weekend 111 leave days.
Mashujaa na jamhuri. Hii mwaka nega imeisha.
Imebaki 70 days, or if you minus those things, it's like just to 70 days.
This is a Morning Cafe. Definitely something to look forward to. My name is Freddie.
Let's take a look at the local dailies. We start off with the People Daily. Failed presidency. That's the headline there.
A stinging headline from the People Daily. The big con on the Standard, and the black background is back.
Taifa Leo, Gachagua awekewa mitego.
Yeye ndo alikuwa jamaa wa mitego. UDA bigwigs plot exodus. We'll be having some of them in studio today.
All right. The Star EACC targets governor wife in a 728 million shillings fresh investigation.
And I think they've just given you the entire story in that headline.
Yes.
Matters Business Auditor questions CBK secret 14.5 billion shilling notes printing deal. Wanna print notes zingine mpya. I tell you. Business Daily.
All right, and the State of the Nation?
Yes, on State of the Nation, we'll be having 2 senators and 2 members of the National Assembly. Senators Joe Nyoto of Murang'a and Eddie Okech of Migori, alongside Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West, and Titus Lote, MP Kachiliba. They'll be in studio starting at 6:30. Do stand by for that.
All right. Tuvuke border kule Uganda, Daily Monitor. Polling power. Heavy lifters, while many candidates struggle to get across the line in the recently concluded and hotly contested NRM party parliamentary primaries, a handful of candidates polled very strongly in a sign of political pulling power. Saying Bazira Musa Rubaga South Buganda region received 20,000? Yes, 20,148 votes. That is 94.2%. Abdul Kiyemba from the East Buganda region had 30,810 votes. Rebecca Kadaga from Kamuli district, she had 107,162 votes. And finally, Vice President Jessica Lupo got 89,944 votes. Polling power.
Anyone who's getting beyond 80% in a poll, that's unassailable. It's like kama hukuwa challenged at all.
Ushashinda. All right. Entebbe authorities protest Kitubulu forest giveaway. KCCA to clear Justice Kanyihamba burial in Buziga. Farmers returned to restored Nyombe wetland in Kabale, and in October last year, about 300 farmers who used to cultivate in Nyombe wetland agreed to vacate for restoration purposes. And this was after the Kabale district local government, along with its partners from the Green Climate Fund and the United Nations Development Program, promised to provide them with alternative livelihoods. They have returned after waiting in vain for what was promised. This is in Uganda. On the top strip, 104 members of parliament received losers petition NRM over disputed results. Amekata kushindwa. That's the Daily Monitor.
Still in Uganda, PDM best worst districts named, a total of 2,896. No, there's 2,896,114 beneficiaries have accessed funds so far. PDM best and worst districts named. Na kama kawaida on the New Vision, ambayo ni gazeti tunaangalia, Yoweri Museveni, the president, has to be there, half page akisalamia watu. Sasa anasalamia nani hapa? Is meeting FAO Director General and his delegation. Pale yuko. Uganda grapples with high syphilis burden. It's there on the front page. You have to see it to believe it. This is on the front page of the New Vision from Uganda. The country is grappling with a high syphilis burden. Syphilis ni STI. Very serious. Child killed in motorbike race. And Matters Land government introduces new AI-based title system. Pale juu, nafikiri story ko pale pia kwenye front page ya Daily Monitor. Aggrieved NRM aspirants will get justice, says Museveni. That is the New Vision in Uganda.
All right, tuvuke kule Bongo. We'll start off with the Citizen. Never again, that's pledge after painful BRT lessons. And Dar es Salaam Rapid Transit Agency Chief Executive Athuman Kihamia has promised commuters a more coordinated and efficient rollout of the bus rapid transit's third phase, following lessons learned from preceding phases. And Dr. Athuman Kihamia says in this third phase, they have prepared themselves so that the challenges they faced in phase 2 do not happen again. And this time, infrastructure and buses will be ready at the same time.
And this is something that we probably can copy. We tried doing the BRT and it failed in Kenya. Tungoje Tanzania wapate nini yao correctly, they face all the challenges, and wakisha get it right, tunachukua hiyo.
Tuna benchmark.
Copy paste.
Key agreement on $42 billion LNG project on the cards, and a long-awaited agreement that will set out the terms of the envisaged $42 billion liquefied natural gas complex in the south of the country could be finalized within 2 weeks. Bus owners now want unfair law changed. They say drugs. Ini alcohol yao. Ati bus owners now want unfair law changed. All right, EAC tariff inconsistencies threaten regional trade growth. And on the top strip, PDC, Nigerian company, signed MOU for natural gas exploration in Mnazi Bay. How a fractured opposition plans to take on CCM matters politics there on the front page of The Citizen, and that's The Citizen.
Okay, tukisalia kule Bongo, gazeti la Mwananchi wasema sheria ngumu yaliza wamiliki wa mabasi. Hapa tuelewa zaidi. Wasema usafirishaji dawa za kulevya unavyowatia maskini kwa magari kutaifishwa. Wataka LATRA kuwanusuru wenye malori, nao waeleza kilio chao. Kwani wanataka wakubaliwe kusafirisha madawa ya kulevya? Hata wanakuja sana. Wanatoa huduma wanapaswa kuhakikisha wafanyakazi wao wamepewa mafunzo ya kutosha kuhusu usimamizi wa mizigo. Sheria haitamlinda mtu anayedai kutojua. Wanalao tu mizigo inapita, kumbe ni mihadarati, alafu wanakuja kusema oh, the law is unfair. They say ignorance is no defense in law. Atisikuwa najua sheria ngumu ndio wale sasa. Na kuna mabasi mengi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi. Hapa ni wamiliki wa mabasi, pia mabasi 99 njia ya Mbagala kutua nchini Agosti 15. Ni utekelezaji waanza ikiwa imepita takriban miaka miwili tangu wakala wa mabasi yaendayo haraka DART ukamilishe miundombinu wa awamu hiyo ya pili kuanzia katikati ya jiji hadi rangi tatu. Niyo BRT. Na ni kama hapa, as far as the BRT is concerned, bus rapid transport in Dar es Salaam and areas there, I think they're way ahead of Kenya by far, and we can only wait to learn from them. Matters politics, mnyukano wa ACT, Chadema, CCM watikisa. Ni miezi miwili tu kabla ya uchaguzi mkuu Oktoba mwaka huu.
Hatujaiongelelea opponent wa Samia Suluhu.
Chadema si walizimwa, umewasikia isipokuwa leo umesoma hapa Chadema. Tundu Lissu bado yuko mbaroni, ako huko nyuma bado, hata hajaachiliwa.
Samia anaenda unopposed.
Naenda anafaa kuwe the main opposition candidate. Pale juu TANAPA yanoa panga watalii kuvunja sheria. Naambiwa usifikiriwe ni mtalii utakuja kuvunja sheria huku. Ukome kabisa. Aliyedaiwa kuuawa na askari polisi kuzikwa leo. Ni habari tu zinazopewa kipaumbele kule Tanzania.
All right, those are the regional dailies today. Let's take a look at the weather situation. Kuna baridi.
Kijibaridi cha asubuhi. The cloud cover today across the continent is not any different from what we saw yesterday. Very little cloud cover across the continent. Just this stretch na iko juu. Ni kama ile border between Sahel na kunaitwaje huko chini? Sub-Sahara. Hapa Ethiopia, Nigeria, Niger, Mali, kuna cloud hapo, ni kama hiyo ndio border. Huku chini hakuna cloud, kule juu hakuna cloud. Lakini ukienda Asia, clouds everywhere. Start of Indiani upande huu, it's relatively cool temperatures for anyone in Diani along the coast. It is 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy today. Highs of 26 degrees, which means ni kama temperature haita change sana. From 23 to 26. The entire day ni kama vile una feel saa hii ndio utafeel jioni. Utafeel saa 8 na saa 6 pia.
Very well.
And as far as precipitation is concerned, 1.0 millimeters of rainfall. Kidogo sana.
Lake Victoria region, Kisumu 19 degrees this morning, feels like 24. A partly cloudy day. Highs of 28 degrees and precipitation in Kisumu 0.5 millimeters. Hiyo ni kidogo sana. Nyeri?
Nyeri, kama unataka joto, this is the one place you should avoid. I think it has one of the lowest temperatures today. Currently it's 13 degrees Celsius. It will only get as high as 19. Hata itafika 20 leo. Kama unatafuta joto usiende Nyeri. And I think today is the coldest this week because I think even tomorrow, ikifika next week inaenda tena 19. But at least for this week, tomorrow will be slightly warmer. 1.2 millimeters of rainfall in Nyeri. But it's very cold.
And it's raining this morning. At 3 p.m.
Kwendeki.
Eldoret, 14 degrees, feels like it. Mostly cloudy day, highs of 22 degrees. Precipitation in Eldoret, 3.1 millimeters. Hata huko kuna baridi. So from 10 a.m. all the way.
Na ikifika 5 p.m. mvua inamwagika.
All right. How about Marsabit?
Marsabit kuna shida. Umeona headline moja hapo inasema governor na mkewe wanatafutwa. 19 degrees Celsius in Marsabit, mostly cloudy. Highs of 26 degrees, which is also a bit fair for Marsabit. Usually it has some warmer temperatures, 0 millimeters and as far as precipitation is concerned.
Finally, we don't have Nairobi today, do we?
We don't have
we do.
Nairobi.
Finally, Nairobi, 13 degrees, warming expected over the next 3 days though. It's a cloudy day today, highs of 21 degrees and precipitation in the capital city, 0.5 millimeters.
Na kama kuna wale walikuwa na complain Nairobi, yes, it is going to warm up in the next few days. Weekend yenye inakuja itakuwa warm kabisa, 26 degrees. That is back to normal temperature Nairobi. Lakini leo I think is the coldest. Next week itarudi hapo, lakini ka weekend katakuwa kajoto kiasi.
All right. It's about, is it 12 minutes past 6? Tuangalie traffic kunakaa vipi.
All right. Ulikuwa unaniambia umekuwa gwiji wa traffic sasa.
Major tributaries town. You can see the Muthaiga interchange is building up slowly. There's already a spotting of some red here. Lakini nothing much to worry about because if you go way back on Thika Road, nothing much. Jana na Monday tulikuwa tunaona hapo, it was yellow already at this time of the day, but today it's clear. So Thika Road clear. If you go back to Kiambu Road, clear as well. This is the perfect time to leave home watu wa Kiambu Road na Thika Road. Na ukumbuke Muthaiga interchange building up slowly. Ngong Road, on your way to town, also building up. Isn't matatu too, nothing much to report there. Clear roads at the western side. Nothing much. Watu are working from home. Tukiangalia eastern side of town. Something there. Longfeather Estate. Embakasi hapo. Hizi si ni matatu. Building
pale
up
pipeline. Hakuna kitu mpya pale.
Going way back, nothing much to report. Leo, the roads are clear. It's hump day.
Let's take a look at Jogoo Road, probably see kama kuna anything hapa. Ile mali ilikuwa imefungwa jana ni kama wamefungua.
Wamefungua.
So it's green all the way. Even guys on Jogoo Road can go to town very fast.
Everyone, today the roads are clear. Na sijui kwa nini every time ninaangalia traffic kuna clear. Hakuna. Ni wewe unakujanga hapa na mazinga umbwe. Let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Bring your A game always, not just sometimes. Showing up fully every time guarantees growth, trust, and security in your role.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. We start off with the People Daily. Failed the presidency, wasted opportunity, they say. Broken pledges, they outline them here on the front page. Affordable housing project facing legal and financial hurdles. Kenyans borrowed billions from Hustler Fund but defaulted. Higher education funding in limbo. Cost of living has worsened due to heavy taxation. Underfunded and chaotic implementation of the Social Health Authority. Promised that he will cut government spending by 30 billion shillings.
300 billion.
or 300 billion shillings. But Ruto's international travel, 51 trips in 1 year, cost 1.3 billion shillings. And public debt shot from 8.63 trillion shillings to over 10 trillion shillings in a year.
And this headline comes days after the president said that he did not overpromise. He was actually raising the ambitions of Kenyans and the aspirations that it's good to think big. I was not overpromising.
I'm
just
raising the bar.
Helping, raising the bar. You know, I'm a failed presidency. I think it's a very stinging headline. What do you think about this headline?
Wasted opportunity. People daily, though.
Hey, that's a people daily.
Yes, yes,
our Bembelezi.
How 529 pieces of railways land were grabbed. That story is on page 6. On the top strip, intrigues as Raila Party pushes Ruto to surrender Sakaja's seat in 2027 poll. More details on that on page 5. And I was listening to Edwin Sifuna yesterday at night. Alikuwa anasema venye kuna confusion in their party. They are not speaking in a unified voice. Yeah,
the Secretary General is supposed to be the spokesperson of the party.
Lakini hajui
anataka tuulize nani.
Amesema yeye haelewi, lakini he is not speaking for the party at the moment.
Really?
At the moment, yes. Why many polls could delay? That story is on page 8. That's the People Daily.
All right. The big con, that's the Standard, and it has a black background and the image there of a DIG of police, Eliud Lagat, who had been reported to have stepped aside, but now they are raising questions about integrity. Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat lied to the country, this is according to the Standard, about his stepping aside to pave the way for investigations into the death of Albert Ojwang at Central Police Station in Nairobi. Now, in a June 16 statement, Lagat announced he had opted to step aside, and this was his own statement back then, to allow investigations to proceed unhindered. But fresh court filings reveal a different story, that he merely applied for an 18-day annual leave, approved the same day by the police IG Douglas Kanja. Kwa hivyo alitudanganya. Haku step aside, alienda on leave. Sasa mimi last week vile nilienda leave, nilikuwa nime step aside.
Yes, you stepped aside for Dibalo, Eric and the
No way. I was still an employee. I did not step aside. I simply took some days.
No, in this context, you stepped aside.
But the police IG wished him a restful break. In a sworn reply, Lagat now insists he never vacated office. According to, he never did. Nor appointed a replacement, contradicting his own public statement. The open lie has reignited questions about his integrity, transparency, and truthfulness as a civil servant. Unasema ume step aside, kumbe umeenda leave. It's a big story on the front page of the Standard.
You're applying for leave and saying I'm stepping aside.
You're stepping aside.
I'm applying to step aside.
Other stories inside the Standard, Masai Mara listed in extraordinary global records for annual spectacle. That story is on page 3. Grab yourself a copy of the Standard and read that one. Sio mimi nikupatie kila kitu. Kwingine, to stagger polls or not, debate rages on formats. This is what the president had suggested, that probably the elections for MPs and senators should not be the same day as the elections for the president to lessen the burden. All right, back page matter sports. World Athletics Championship trials, but still preparing for Tokyo. Lakini kuna ile ingine tulikuwa nasema saini 10 days to CHAN. 2024 CHAN, confusion Mars Harambee Stars preparations. Less than 10 days to the CHAN tournament, which we are hosting with Uganda and Tanzania. And that's the Standard.
All right. Taifa Leo, Gachagua awekewa mitego. Njama ya kufifisha ushawishi wa Rigathi anayejitahidi kuhakikisha Ruto anahudumu muhula mmoja ya fichuka. Serikali imebaini mikakati thabiti ya kumzima Gachagua, kama vile kutumia wafuasi wake kumtatiza mlimani, kutumia baadhi ya wafuasi wa Jubilee kummaliza nguvu, makanisa kubagua wanasiasa wa upinzani, na mahakama kuwatatiza wandani wa naibu huyo wa rais wa zamani. Former Deputy President hapo, he's quoted here, anasema mtu mmoja anaandamwa na zaidi ya vikundi 10. Mtu yule aliyemtimua ofisini Oktoba mwaka jana amekataa kuzama kama walivyotamani, na sasa wanahangaika kumvunja kisiasa. Yenyewe. We.
Hata yuko Kenya.
yani tunamfuata hadi majuu.
Alisema hata huko juu anaona watu bado wanamfuata.
Anajiita kingmaker huyo. Vidokezo zaidi, SHA ya tesa wagonjwa wa saratani. hii matters ya SHA inakwanga inaleta maneno sana ikiletwa hapa kwa gazeti, lakini hii ni Taifa Leo anasema fedha zilizotengewa waathiriwa wa maradhi hayo hatari ni tone la maji baharini. It's important to note though that SHA imetengea cancer patients, registered cancer patients, around 500,000 Kenyan shillings each, 550,000 Kenyan shillings each. This newspaper is saying here that SHA yatesa wagonjwa wa saratani, that money is not enough for them. Dhehebu la mulikwa vikali, wapelelezi wataka kujua iwapo kuna uhusiano wa dhehebu hilo na Shakahola 2. Siku pewa chochote na Uhuru, kiongozi wa ODM akanusha kunufaika kibinafsi kutokana na handisheki mwaka 2018. On the top strip, Ruto katika hatari ya kutorokwa, wandani wake wengi watoa ishara za kumtoroka rais. Na masala ya spoti, Gyökeres ni saa tu kutoa Arsenal baada ya harakati ngumu ya kumsaini, hatimaye Sporting ya mwachilia. Taifa Leo.
Right. Daily Nation na hadithi hii iko pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo pia, wanasema UDA bigwigs plot exodus. Already under siege from a rebel faction allied to ousted Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the wars of the governing United Democratic Alliance are set to worsen, with top former loyalists, including the Senate Majority Whip, joining the rebellion. Senate Majority Whip ni Boni Khalwale, Senator wa Kakamega. The man tasked with whipping members to toe the line has declared the party dead. Boni Khalwale alisema uko Western, UDA hata haina ofisi. Haiko. Yet is a majority whip in the Senate. Kuna mtu ka Gloria Oroba alionekana airport na Matiang'i akafutwa kazi. Mohamed Ali yule wa Nyali siku hizi hataki maneno ya UDA. Joash Nyamoko ule wa North Mugirango siku hizi kwa upande wa nani? Matiang'i. Jane Kihara kwa upande wa nani? Rigathi. Ndindi Nyoro hatujui kwa wapi, lakini amekasirikia serikali kweli kweli. Game plan ya 2027 political realignments rock the ruling party. And I remember at some point the ruling party, UDA, was even traveling to, top officials were traveling to China to benchmark with the Communist Party, because the plan was to create a huge monolithic party, a big party that would tikisa nchi proper.
KNRM.
Kama NRM ya Uganda. Lakini sasa unasikia mpaka majority whip anasema hiyo chama ni kama haiko. Kutakuwa na some members of UDA party hapa studio na short wala watatueleza kama chama bado kiko imara ama kuna mtu hapa kwa newsroom anapenda kusema chama iko imara. Je, chama cha UDA kiko imara?
Tumweke kwa live link atuambie chama kiko imara.
Ni kama kuna shida UDA. Free at last, this is another big story, and this is at least some positive news. On death row in Saudi Arabia for over a decade, dreading a date with the executioner every day, the nightmare for Stephen Munyako finally ended yesterday when he was freed after dramatic negotiations with the family of a Yemeni citizen whose death following a feud led to his conviction. It took 150 million shilling blood money for his life to be spared. That story is on page 3. He's finally been released, and the mother was very happy. She had moved from one media house to another, just looking for help for her son, and finally that has come to pass. Audit says NTSA has no control of our own portal. This is according to Nancy Gathungu, and she's back on the front pages. Ukiangalia gazeti zingine wanasema hata e-citizen. Ni kama hata wajui hiyo pesa inaenda wapi. Kuna pesa inaingia na inatoka na watu wajui.
We're doing badly.
MPs have actually summoned the PS in charge of that kumuuliza, okay, are we sure pesa yenye inaingia e-citizen inaenda treasury ama inaenda wapi? Kwingine, state slaps more protest suspects with terrorism charges. Hii tumekuwa tukizungumzia sana, and it's one of the biggest discussions whether or not the state is using the Prevention of Terror Act to actually counter dissent. On the back page, Kenya's best to face the world. Na hiyo ni athletics, World Athletics Championships. They are getting ready for the Tokyo meet. Na pale nyuma kuna the entire team Kenya squad from all races. 100 meters, of course, Ferdinand Omanyala will be there. Na kwingineko kama ile 1500 meters ya women, Faith Kipyegon lazima atakuwa, Nelly Chirchir, Susan Ejore and Dorcas Ewoi. So yes, Team Kenya wanaonekana pale wanapiga picha na CS wa sports Salim Vuria. That's the Daily Nation.
All right. The Star EACC targets governor wife in 728 million shillings fresh investigation. In official statement, couple denies wrongdoing. This is Marbit Governor Mohammed Ali and the wife. History iko page 4 and 5 due to the interest of time. Mom rolls on in joy after son escapes death row in Saudi. We've talked about that. It's when Dorothy Kweyu received the call confirming that her son Steve Munyako had finally been released from prison in Saudi Arabia. Her body reacted before her mind could process the news. She rolled on the floor, an involuntary expression of raw relief, disbelief, and overwhelming joy. Women abused, slapped while giving birth, reveals report. Abused and slapped while giving birth. This story is on page 2, very saddening news here.
Ni wapi huko?
Anasema, the report, it's a report by Kellyn though. Page 2. Allegations MPs summon Treasury PS over e-citizen gaps.
Sasa inaingia lakini haifiki.
Inaenda acha nisi. Karibu niseme ama inaingia kwa mfuko ya mtu. Oscar Giso, 26 years old, defies odds to graduate after last year's KU bus crash. You remember that bus crash? It was very tragic. He was in a wheelchair. That's the Star, fresh, independent, different.
Matters business now. Auditor questions CBK's secret 14.5 billion shilling notes printing deal. Tunaenda kuprint pesa. Public Procurement Authority unaware of tendering. Inafanyika, tunataka kuprint pesa lakini hata the Procurement Authority hata wajui kuna kitu kama hiyo. The Public Procurement Watchdog was kept in the dark over the Central Bank of Kenya's secretive award of a 14.5 billion shilling tender for printing currency to a German company, turning the spotlight on cost and choice of firm in the mega tender. Inaitwa, hao ndo walireplace De La Rue. Inaitwa Giske plus De Vrion. Haya. Kenya depletes fuel subsidy fund amid surge in pump prices. That's why you're paying on average 10 to 12 shillings extra per litre of fuel across the country. Asema ile pesa ilikuwa ya subsidy imeisha. This is according to the CS for Energy, Opiyo Wandayi. Aliambia parliamentary committee, hiyo pesa ni kama hakuna. Sasa mutaendelea hivyo hivyo. It was some fund about 2.5 billion shilling imeisha. On the ticker, annual road spend rises for the first time since Ruto took office. Elsewhere, Isuzu set to enter Kenya's electric vehicle market. And finally, KCB pays 829 billion shilling letters of credit in fuel import deal. That's the Business Daily.
All right, once again, the State of the Nation.
On State of the Nation, 2 senators, 2 members of the National Assembly, Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a and Eddie Okech of Migori, alongside Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, member of the National Assembly representing Tigania West, and his colleague Titus Lote representing Kachiliba. They will be in studio in a short while. Do stand by for that.
All right, let's take a look at the caricatures now. Start off with the Star, the race to 2027, like...
We ashaenda mbio. Anaangalia nyuma na aliwaambia hapana msianze campaign saa hii, lakini ashakimbia karibu afike mwisho.
Lakini unaona aachi apumue. Kashagwe naye mkono mrefu tena mara mbili. The hand is stretching way back, and tunaona other opposition leaders here. Maraga ashasema I have the will and the power.
Lakini akukule nyuma. Eni katuni stamemweka huko sio mimi.
Okay, kuna wengine hapa wamekuwa shadowed, wako wengi of the political leaders. We know them. That's sister.
On the Daily Nation, the cartoon talks about parents. There's a parent number 1. Parent number 1 aliambia watu mchunga watoto wenyu. Wamekosa nidhamu. Ndio maana wanapigwa na polisi. Lakini yeye mwenyewe kama mzazi, watoto wake wanasema shoot to kill, wanaongea fwa. Anasema discipline your kids or else. And it always happens, the parent whose kids ill disciplined ndio huwa na warn wengine. Nyinyi ni kama mjui kulea watoto, lakini watoto wake
I agree.
Ndio wale pale. That's a Daily Nation.
This is it the Standard?
The Standard.
The Standard. Scales of justice, government, and of course, this is the national anthem. Will justice be a shield and defender on the scales of justice?
All right. Finally, People Daily. Kuna huyu jamaa anaitwa Fred Matiang'i, a caricature of him, walking on a crocodile-infested river. Wamesema pa Rivayala 2027 elections. And he says, Jesus walked on water. I, Matiang'i, will walk on Rivayala without sinking, and the crocodiles will not touch me. Basically, hapa anasema he's not scared about all the accusations about Rivayala and the dumping of bodies there. Hiyo imustui. Atajibu hayo maswali wakiendelea.
In fact, alisema ako ready to appear questioning over that.
All right.
Today being a Wednesday, tunaongelea mapenzi tu, matters love. When love turns violent, what do? We'll be having Richard Ziwa Zimbalise, Councillor, and of course Beatrice Muraguri in studio for this conversation. When love turns violent, mbona mnakaa kwa relationship?
Just walk away. Hakuna unapigwa.
And you know, violence is not only physical. We have emotional violence. We have financial violence.
Hapo kwa emotional violence.
Yes, emotional abuse.
Emotional abuse.
It's not only physical when you're talking about violence.
All right, do stand by for State of the Nation. A big look at the headlines with my panelists, 2 members of the Senate and 2 members from the National Assembly. Coming up after this.
Do interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News KE. My handle is at Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle is at Fred Ndimuli. See you after the break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age.
According to court documents, DIG Eliud Lagat was on an 18-day annual leave from June 17th and did not step aside. The court documents indicate that his leave days were approved by Police Inspector General Kanja amid a probe into Albert Ojwang's murder, contrary to earlier report that he had stepped aside. In what is his response, Lagat says, I quote, On June 16, 2025, I formally applied for temporary administrative leave from office in light of the ongoing investigations surrounding the unfortunate death of Albert Omondi Ojwang, which had attracted significant public concern and speculation. End of quote. Lagat, who marked a copy of the leave application he had made and a letter granting the said leave, says his public statement was to make known to the public of his temporary absence and a clarification on continuity of the service and not an appointment letter to the second interested party, nor did it usurp the constitutional mandate of the National Police Service Commission. Lagat says his leave was not a resignation, nor abandonment or cessation of office according to Article 245 and 251 of the Constitution or Section 20 of the National Police Service Act. This brings a fresh twist in the case, which seeks to remove Eliud Lagat from office. Lagat, who is listed as an interested party, reiterated that there was no misconduct on his part and that no disciplinary process had been initiated against him by the National Police Service Commission or any other competent body. Lagat wants the case seeking his ouster dismissed, arguing that Deputy Inspector Gilbert Masengeli's acting capacity does not violate Article 245(3) of the Constitution, which provides for the structure of command and not the mechanics of internal administrative delegation or interim arrangements. Meanwhile, a forensic report has revealed that former Central Police OCS Samson Talam's SIM card was cloned in sophisticated fraud scheme while he was in custody. The report tabled before Magistrate Ben Mark Ehobe has uncovered a coordinated fraud scheme significantly happening while OCS Talam was in lawful custody, making it clear that any communications or financial activity linked to his number during that time were the work of third parties.
The analysis goes out at a SIM swap, phone change, and of course unauthorized access and misuse, especially considering that the device usage while the owner was in custody.
Presenting the report, Inspector Moses Edeli revealed that the fraudulent SIM swap was executed between June 16th and June 17th, 2025 by a suspect identified as Rono Kiprotich Brian. Forensic analysis showed that a new device and a different SIM card identity were activated in the same location where the replacement occurred, confirming both a SIM swap and a device change. The court has directed that former OCS Talam now records a statement as the complainant in the matter. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
All right, and that story by Linda Alela forms the basis of our first conversation this morning. It is also on the front page of The Standard. The big con against a black background. That's a big headline of The Standard with the image there of DIG of Police, Eliud Lagat, plus the letter he wrote to the court revealing that he did not actually step aside and he applied for an 18-day annual leave, which was approved the same day by Police IG Douglas Kanja, who wished him a restful break. In studio with me this morning, I have Eddie Okech, Senator Migori County, karibu sana Senator, and Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tegania West. Gentlemen, the issue is about matters to do with integrity in the public service. The events of the past 1 month or so have been making headlines, and one would imagine that the state and all its agencies would be keen to ensure that the matters that Kenyans raised questions over were addressed and addressed conclusively, and not just for purposes of pacifying the masses for a short period of time, but actually getting us to an end where people would actually feel that justice has been served. In as far as the murder of Albert Ojwang is concerned, this is still a pending matter. The fact that the nation was misled to imagine that the Deputy IG of Police who was mentioned in this matter had stepped aside from his position is definitely a question that needs answers. Senator, do you agree that this, with headline on the front page of The Standard, that this was a big con against Kenyans?
Good morning, Fred. I think that the answer is a straight yes. I mean, there are issues that when they emerge, that is if the reported story is as is, then it will be very unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that we were here and we talked about justice and justice for Juang or justice for any other people who find themselves in this kind of situation. And the reason why you step aside is to be able to give way to justice. And the question is, has justice for Juang been granted? Have the investigations ended? Have the outcome of the investigation been established to the extent that the people who did what they did to Juang been held culpable? And the answer is no. So to the extent that if you are a senior officer at that level, then you have chosen to, or not even chosen, you have taken the right path of stepping aside. Then one, you didn't step aside. And then number two, even after stepping aside, the reason for stepping aside was the fact that the investigation had to be done to conclusion and justice found, and that hasn't happened. It is in distrust to the Constitution. In fact, it brings very serious issues around the questions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, integrity in the public service, which is a problem. But the act that captures the responsibility, where the burden of responsibility or accountability lab for this entire issue is Chapter 245 of the Constitution, where it's established the IG of police. If you read that chapter of the Constitution, the IG of police is definitely appointed by the president with approval of parliament. And there has been misreading of this particular act because the approval is parliament, but the approval actually has always been National Assembly instead of both National Assembly and Senate. So there's a limitation to what Senate can talk about, how to hold the IG accountable. But at a personal level, I think that the IG should then take action of what the dictates of that particular act of parliament requires, which is that act of parliament does say that the Kenya Police Service and the Administration of Police Service shall each be headed by a deputy inspector general appointed by the president, also in accordance with the Constitution. But the part that I'm keen on is the part about the role of the role of IG includes taking full control of any investigations on any particular offenses or offense by both people within the service and without the service. And I think that is what should be invoked at this point, that the IG then must be able to hold the DIG accountable.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Mutunga, issues around the conduct of state officers are captured very well in Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which reads, a state officer shall behave, whether in public and official life, in private life, or in association with other persons, in a manner that avoids 1A, any conflict between personal interests and public or official duties, B, compromising any public or official interest in favor of a personal interest, or C, demeaning the office that the officer holds. Now, just looking at that provision of the law alone, do you think that the fact that the country was misled, that the DIG had stepped aside, while in essence he had not, he simply applied for leave, that this is a direct violation of our Constitution?
Thank you very much, Fred. I've read this newspaper as much as you have. And besides the headline, there is the letter by DIG and the contradiction. I would be very wrong to tell Kenyans that he was right to say that he's stepping aside and then takes leave. He should simply have said, I've taken 18 days leave or 1 week leave. So there is a mistake in that particular issue. So this is a misconduct in my very considered opinion. When a public official does such things, there are penalties. So he should be held personally responsible for lying to the government. I mean, lying to the state, lying to the people of Kenya, and lying to the world at large, as a person, as an individual. Because if you look at the IG on the connotations next to the portrait, the IG approved annual leave of 18 days. And on this other side, the DIG claimed to have stepped aside. So there is absolutely nothing wrong for the IG to approve leave, but I think the statement by the DIG is wrong.
But what does it say also about the position of the IG of police as the boss to the DIG who had misled Kenyans? Is this a person in control of the police service, that your junior could actually tell the public that he has stepped aside while in essence you have approved leave for 18 days? I think the IG has the obligation to also tell Kenyans the truth, which means there must be some disciplinary measures provided for in this particular placement within the police management structure. So I believe when the DIG made the statement, that's what I imagine, then the IG shouldn't, procedurally, I don't think it would have been right for him to come out and start antagonizing immediately. What he needs to do is use the inherent, or rather the provided procedures within this particular docket to take the necessary action. Right. But confrontation, open confrontation before the public is also not isn't a very good choice in these particular circumstances. Allow me to welcome Titus Lote and Pika Cheleba to the panel. Karibu sana Bwana Lote, and also Senator John Nyoto of Murang'a. Karibu sana, Senator.
Thank you.
Bwana Lote, we are just examining the front page of the Standard, the big con, the fact that DIG of Police Eliud Lagat appears to have misled the nation, that he had stepped aside to allow for investigations into the unfortunate murder of Albert Ojwang while in police custody. But then he himself, through a letter to the courts, has revealed that he did not step aside. He actually just took 18 days annual leave. And it's in the handling of the issues that Kenya has been grappling with, especially in relation to security and how police conduct is treated in Kenya. The fact that a number of police and senior police bosses believe that they can get away with a lot, yes, including lying to Kenyans publicly and without consequence. Do you agree that this is what is happening, that this was a big con, and that there's a feeling within the police service that you can do anything and get away with it?
Well, thank you and good morning. Initially, personally, I didn't have an issue with DIG Lagat on the basis that he had recorded a statement against the late Ojwang, and that with that, I thought he actually followed the law, even at the police rank. But this is what is now making the whole thing murky for me, because as much as he followed the law when he recorded statements against somebody who was maligning his name, at this point, he's totally lying to the public, because our constitution is very clear about the conduct of a person. At Article 1, when you're a public officer, you're supposed to conduct yourself in this manner. By telling us that he's stepping aside, and yet he had actually just gone for leave, is a total lie, and it's a lie that cannot be forgiven, and especially bearing on the fact that that stepping aside was based on a death that actually occurred because of things that probably could have been linked by the statement that he wrote, or could have been linked to his office. So personally, I think it is wrong for us public officers to be able to lie in that manner, and that he cannot be allowed to go scot-free, and especially in this manner, because then if he is allowed to go scot-free, it basically means that our constitution is just a document in paper and not in action. So I think him and the IG because the IG approved his leave. And when he was telling the public that he's gone for leave, he's going to step aside, the IG needed to have clarified that if the IG was also correct. But I think both of them are culpable on the basis that he lied and the IG never corrected it. And so the public all along knew that he stepped aside until the matter is investigated. But now that it's been found that he did not step aside but he went for leave, I think him and the IG need to take responsibility and either apologize or be punished.
Will an apology suffice, Senator? We've seen on matters security previously, at least the Senate has summoned even the CS for Interior with regard to some of the actions police have taken, especially with regard to police conduct over the last few months. Is this another case where we should expect that the Houses of Parliament will summon both the IG and the DIG to explain further what this is happening?
Thanks, Fred. And I think I want to depart from the argument by Honorable Lotte that DIG Lagat was innocent regarding the murder of Albert Ojwang. And why I say this is because, you know, Lagat responded to a mosquito bite with a hammer. All these leaders seated here will tell you that we are attacked on social media all the time, and we do not even care to go report that to anybody. Because all we are saying is, even if it is his right under the Constitution to complain and to lodge a complaint, but I can assure you, had it been just anybody else, you know, reporting that Albert Ojwang or any other particular blogger has, you know, written something or, you know, said something on social media that is not desirable to you, I can assure you nobody would have been arrested. So what am I trying to say? That DIG Lagat is a very powerful person. Being the second, you know, in rank, you know, in the police ranks. And that is why Albert Ojwang was arrested. Had he been able to, you know, to just take what a public officer is supposed to take, that, you know, open to criticism, we would not be discussing in the first place the death of Albert Ojwang. So what happens? Why did Kenyans demand that he steps aside? Because being so powerful as police DIG, of course, and being the complainant in this particular case, then your guess is as good as mine, that of course he was in a position to compromise investigations. And that's why we required, that is why everybody demanded that he steps aside in order for justice for Ojwang to be delivered in a way that Kenyans would see was fair, and that maybe investigations had not been compromised in any way. Now, we are here today, you know, discussing somebody who lied that he had, he had stepped aside. While he went, he sought for some leave. But my concern is actually not even, DIG Lagat lying. My biggest question today is Murkomen, who is all over telling us, the police one time telling the police to shoot, the other day saying, no, I didn't say that. The president saying, shoot in the leg. The other day, the president telling us that, the police are not trained to parent, as if there is any college where people go to be given, training on parenting, and where only the police are exempted. But none of them, not the president, not Murkomen, has said anything. And I think, DIG Lagat went back to duty, I think, last week. Murkomen has not thought that that is anything that needs to be commented on. Something very annoying, an insult to the family of Albert Ojwang and the families of those who have lost their loved ones in the hands of the police. Murkomen does not think that is important. All Murkomen and the president think is important is how somebody wants to overthrow the government through, some goons looting. Such an important matter has not found any merit at least in CS Murkomen's mind, I want to imagine that it is too small for the president. But CS Murkomen has not commented about this. But just before you cut me short, it is impunity in black and white. And why this is happening is because DIG Lagat is the blue-eyed boy of President Ruto. He must succeed Kanja when Kanja retires. He must succeed Kanja under any cost. At any cost, he must succeed Kanja. He must be the police, he must be the IG when we go for elections. That is why there is this impunity. That is why, he cannot step aside. He is above the law. It's a succession matrix. You cannot interfere with the succession matrix in the police force as planned by President Ruto. And that is where we have a problem.
And thank you for drawing me to that, because, Senator, you had drawn us to Article 245 of the Constitution on the command of the National Police Service. Yes. And Section 1 says there is established the Office of the Inspector General of the National Police Service. And now that we're looking for someone to blame, I go straight to Section 4. The Cabinet Secretary, Murkomen, responsible for police services may lawfully give a direction to the Inspector General with respect to any matter of policy for the National Police Service, but no person may give a direction to the Inspector General with respect to A, the investigation of any particular offense or offenses, B, the enforcement of the law against any particular person or persons, or C, the employment, assignment, promotion, suspension or dismissal of any member of the National Police Service. Yeah. Do we now have someone to blame?
Yeah, clearly? When I'm here, first of all, I need to declare I'm a member of ODM if anybody might forget. As a member of ODM, there are certain principles and certain things that we hold very dear. And I think that sometimes it's good for panelists also to declare where they belong. Because I tend to believe everything that Senator Newt has said. And he said them in the command of a UDA MP. And therefore he has spoken as government. He has spoken as a serious government with serious intelligence on issues that
are also the headlines about
I'm going to come to that.
The position of people in UDA.
And we will get to that, and I'll show you why those people still remain in government. Because there seems to be, because government does not just come from the air and then drops and then start governing us. It starts with a campaign, it starts with a plan. It starts with the UDA having a plan, this is how we will govern, and within those plans, there are details that I think that we are being fed very slowly, these details, right? This intelligence that people have, like what my friend Newt has just shared, is intelligence that he has as government, that are actually in their agreements and everything that they have. The DIG is supposed to succeed the IG of police, very consistent with what is current. I would call boss maybe, Honorable Gachagua believes in what they're called shares. They had a plan. There are a lot of things that are going on that is very good they're revealing now, including the issue of DIG being able to inherit the DIG. And I think that one is trivializing this matter. Because when you read the stringent element of the Constitution, and let me tell you, we have been very consistent as ODM that what CS Murkomen said is completely uncalled for and completely unconstitutional. What the president said about shooting, my party and myself are very clear that that was wrong, right? But to negate the Constitution, which says that the issues, and I've read it for you, and I'm glad that you've ended up reading all of it, the person who must hold the issues of investigation on the disciplinary issues and offenses and any other matters of administrative offenses in the National Police Service. Remember, we moved from a National Police Force, which was getting its command from the President, to a National Police Service, which was put under Article 244 of the Constitution among independent institutions that we desired to put. The same way IBC is held independent, is the same way the judiciary is held independent, the same way National Police Service is held independent, and the person who's squarely liable over this is the IG of police. And that's my view, and he needs to be accountable. perhaps even by sequencing for us the order of events. Which one did he get first? Did he get the letter of leave of absence first, and then the stepping aside letter first, or the other way around? Because that must be the accountability lab. But the issue of holding to account the element of this big con that Standard has covered must lie squarely with the IG. And in fact, the boldness that I want to invite the members of parliament to do, because I did it before. I invited the IG of police, I invited the minister, I invited all the security institutions through a statement that Senator Nyutu appreciatively supported in parliament. The IG of police must be summoned to be able to indicate what is the difference between these dichotomous letters, right? And this dichotomous status of affairs of his deputy, for whom is totally responsible in terms of holding accountable.
All right. And we'll continue examining who's responsible and what happens next, because it would be wrong for Kenyans to expect that there will be no consequence from such a big con, if I may use the words used by the Standard. But let's take a short break. We'll be back on Morning Cafe shortly.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe as we continue examining the big headlines this morning. One of the stinging ones is on the front page of the Standard. They call it the big con against a black background. And this is a back and forth that Kenyans are being subjected to by DIG of Police Lagat, who a few weeks back informed the country that he had stepped aside from his position as DIG of Police to allow for investigations into the killing of Albert Ojwang while in police custody. Then a letter from the same person to the courts actually revealed that he had not even stepped aside. He only applied for 18 days annual leave, and that was approved by his boss, the Inspector General of Police. And we now need to take a look at the Inspector General of Police at his position, because the feeling is that when it comes to the police service, Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, is that there are no consequences for bad behavior. And one wonders, when it gets to that highest rank, errors of omission or commission by the IG of police in as far as punishing or bringing to book his juniors, where should Kenyans stand for help? Who will bring the police service, which is an independent institution, the National Police Service, to order? Dr. Mutunga?
There is nobody in this country who is above the law, above the Constitution. And the Constitution does provide for the president not to probably be prosecuted when he is in office. I have not read anywhere within the same documents where a police officer or police at whatever rank is not punishable by law. That I don't want to imagine because I haven't seen it. Having seen that, I think we should treat this particular case as a peculiar and individual case, not generalize this particular occurrence or happening. I said earlier that DIG should have seen exactly what was happening, that he has taken 18 days leave or 1 week leave or 1 month leave to allow for investigations. When you take leave, you don't hold office. I mean, you leave somebody in charge and anything can happen. And face consequences then, other than lie that he's going on, stepping aside, leaving the office for investigations, specifically for the investigations. We also are alive to the fact that the investigations have not ended. So in this case, and I said that there must be provisions to discipline such an occurrence. Now, I would like to dissociate myself from the comments of Honorable Senator Newt. Trying to generalize this and trying to bring in other factors and other people into this particular issue. This is a specific issue involving an individual who has written the letter and published this letter and has also written to court. And the assumption that it is being prepared cannot be backed by any fact. It's just a hearsay. Is being prepared to take over? I don't think so. We have seen in this particular country that it is not just the DIG who takes over to the top. Any other person in a senior position can take over. And we have seen it. Somebody in charge of a region coming to the top of the police force. So that particular insinuation is wrong.
Okay.
So when it comes to what the Inspector General should actually do, I may not be able to tell you exactly what he should do, but I should say that he should follow the law to deal with this particular issue.
As a member of the National Assembly, you don't think that the National Assembly has any role to play?
No. That's not his. I said Inspector General, not National Assembly. I was coming to the National Assembly. Now, I'm saying that I need to maybe appraise myself on the provisions so that probably we can accost. I believe there must be provisions within the conduct of the police force that the Inspector General can apply to discipline its junior. Now, coming to Parliament, Parliament has an oversight role over everyone, and the Committee on Security should be able to summon the Inspector General to explain exactly the circumstances around this lie and how they want to deal with this particular case so that Kenyans can know that the procedures thereby are going to be followed. And such commitments should also be followed by action. Because if we leave it to the management of the police force, then of course people will not feel safe with the police, and people need to feel safe with the police. Now, the discussion around the president saying the police, are not, cannot parent the children, I think it needs to be contextualized. Where did it happen? How did it happen? Why probably did it happen? This particular conversation was before the clergy. And we all know as a country, as a people, we know that three kind of formations shape the life and the behavior of an individual. The parent shapes the life of a child. Depending on how the parent brings up the child, the kind of information that they give, the kind of guidance, the do's and don'ts build that particular child from a very young age. The teacher does shape the behavior of a child. And then the clergy does shape the behavior of the parent, the teacher, and the child. So the reason why the president spoke to the clergy, in my imagination, because I did not draft this particular, is because he knew the church has a role. And therefore the church needed to communicate this information progressively and effectively.
All right.
So we should not misunderstand some of these things and misquote them.
Right.
Yeah.
Back to the issue at hand, and that's the issue of bringing discipline or order within the police ranks. Now that the persons who are said to have erred are both the IG of police and his deputy. This is definitely now beyond the National Police Service. It should go higher. Bwana Lote, do you agree that this is now the purview of the National Assembly or Parliament, Houses of Parliament? And if they fail to take action, then it is them who should be seen as the weakest link.
Well, thank you. I think you've given us an article in the Constitution 245 about the police service and the independence that they do have, and that the Inspector General of Police has got the enormous power to bring order within the police service. So I think even before we start blaming Parliament or even start saying that we bring this to Parliament, we need to see the response from the Inspector General of Police, because this matter is within the Inspector General of Police. Well, until the Inspector General of Police cannot be able to handle this matter or cannot show Kenyans that he is able to implement the articles of the Constitution that gives him the power to bring discipline, then it comes to the National Assembly. And when then it comes to the National Assembly, I'm sure.
Aren't we there yet? That according to the reading of the Article 245, the police IG is already in the wrong? Approving leave for someone who should have stepped aside, publicly so?
Well, that is what I said initially. He did approve leave for this person. And I actually said, if you listen to me clearly, I said, the person to be held responsible, the two of them, one for lying, the DIG, that is actually stepping aside yet is going for leave, and that the IG approved for leave. Now that it's come up to the open, it is now asked to look at, is the IG going to correct his mistake by acting? At the point when it cannot then act is when it can come to the National Assembly, and you listen to all these members of Parliament, Senate and National Assembly. None of us is agreeing with what is happening. Yeah. And that basically tells you that the National Assembly is mad about this thing. And if it comes to the National Assembly, action is going to be taken.
Okay. Senator, final word on this issue so that we move to another also equally pressing matter with the police.
Thank you, Fred, and I beseech you to give me some more time, because you know, Honorable Mutunga and Honorable Eddie have mentioned my name. I mean, it's only fair that I do respond.
Go ahead.
Yes, you know, Eddie started by saying that he's in ODM, but I'm in government, and when I make my submissions here, then I'm giving intelligence about what is about government. And you know, Eddie is a bright person, but we are not going to allow him to, to mislead Kenyans. Nobody doesn't know that ODM is working with government, which is a fraud. And I want to challenge Eddie. It's a fraud because, as we speak now, ODM continues occupying positions meant for the opposition while still taking positions in government, which is a fraud. So Eddie should not talk about that, being a member of ODM. I mean, which is a fraud. I mean, you cannot enter into a relationship that is a fraud, and then you start laughing at people and telling them, oh, that is intelligence. Nobody doesn't know where I stand. Nobody doesn't know that I'm UDA on paper, yes, but I mean, it's neither here nor there. Government is Eddie, government is Mutunga, government is Lote. Actually, I'm not government, it's important. Then he said that I'm trivializing this matter. And Honorable Mutunga also referred to the same, saying that I'm generalizing, that, we are talking about a particular issue. You know, Fred, even when we are talking about a particular issue, we must look at anything wholesomely. But those who support government today want people to just look at one side of things. That's why you can establish a pattern from Eddie to Mutunga. That's why we are being told to look at the study being made, to look at, empowerment, but not look at the violation of human rights. So it's a script. So I want to tell them that those who belong to my side will continue looking at things wholesomely. both the side that government wants people to see, the Kenyans to see, and the side government does not want Kenyans to see. And we'll also be telling Kenyans, I don't know whether we are going to get there, that when they go lying to people, they are doing empowerment and they want us to do that, probably you'll give them time to tell us how you empower women by giving them 31 of them 2,000 Kenya shillings, and we are just supposed to look at that side, empowerment, having spent the whole day. So it's important that we also, this issue, that the IG should take responsibility because he is operating an independent outfit must not be, that argument must not be allowed because it is not true. We have seen the IG being given, the police being given instructions.
But we have the law here, Senator. If at all if at all the AG is getting instructions, the IG is getting instructions from anywhere else, it means it's failure on his part. The law actually gives him every responsibility.
My argument was not about whether it is, legal or lawful. It's about, my argument was, we have seen people commenting about security issues. And my question was, how have we not seen the President and Murkomen commenting about this? So when you talk about independence, it is there on paper, yes. For example, also the Speaker of the National Assembly is supposed to be impartial. But can you today say that Moses Wetangula is impartial because he's holding an...
Isn't that an individual choice? We've had speakers who've been
that's what we are saying. But...
Hence the question.
Yes.
The IG of police, as an individual, has been given all this provisions and latitude to take care and run the ranks and file of the police service.
Yes.
If at all he allows himself to take, for whatever reason, political or otherwise, if at all he allows himself to be influenced by other forces outside, and I'm not saying it's impossible, should indeed be seen as failure on his part? This independence that we want to talk about, when we are talking about the Constitution and the independence that it has granted, various office holders, it is there on paper, but practically, Fred, is it there? Because today, if the President wanted the Speaker of the National Assembly today, or the Speaker of the Senate today, he is supposed to be impartial and independent. But if he wanted him removed today, he would be removed. How would that happen? Because there are also political maneuvers that can remove somebody from office even when they hold an independent office. Who didn't see the 3 commissioners, the Cherera 4? Who didn't see how they were removed? They were occupying independent offices. But remember, there are processes. And these processes of removal of independent office holders is influenced by politically. So we cannot deny what we know happens in real life, on the ground, and, stick to what the Constitution provides. Yes, all those provisions of the Constitution are there, but then when those enjoying political power want you out, they'll see you out. So that, I know there are processes, even of removing judges, but how do we activate these processes? If I'm getting that is the question. Are you saying that the IG of police should not be held accountable for errors of commission? Or
I have not said that. And if I have, you archive everything. I have not said that. I only said I would have expected, as a Kenyan who lives in this country, I would have expected that when this particular fraud happened, that those who had commented about security operations would have said something. Just the way they said it. I did not say at any particular point in time that the IG should not take responsibility. What I'm saying is, if people have been vocal about security matters, when there is also something embarrassing like this, we expect them to make a comment. And in any case, Fred, if you are going to limit ourselves to this, the IG only approved the leave. 18 days leave for DIG Lagat. It is not the IG, if I'm not wrong, that communicated to the country that DIG Lagat had stepped aside. It is DIG Lagat who wrote, and the letter is here, who announced that he had stepped aside. The IG, if what I'm saying here is what obtains, the IG just wrote that he had allowed DIG Lagat to proceed on leave.
Okay.
So who will hide in this particular case? It's only because you have interjected.
Because of time, yeah.
Because of time, and I understand. Yes. Yeah. Okay, fine. We can depart from there, but later, I need to respond one or two things.
You know why? Let me tell you something, Fred. When we come to these shows, and we're dealing with particular issues, the weight of those issues defines how we approach them. And there's temptation. We're politicians, I understand. And there's always temptations to politicize everything. Okay? And that's why I talk about trivializing. I wasn't saying because I was having a condescending attitude towards Senator Newton. He's my colleague in Senate. But you can see that the moment you attempt to politicize a serious issue as an issue of justice to somebody who has died, whose family is still going under pain, generation is still going under pain, young people in this country are still going under pain, the danger that you have then is to constantly contradict yourself because you're trying to play politics with it, right? Because you've seen Senator Newton saying that the Cherera 4 were removed in a political process, which was not a constitutional process. Just the same way the judiciary judiciary has got odd numbers in terms of the composition. If the odd numbers today in the judiciary were to make an opinion whereby we have got four judges differing with 3 judges, Fred, what will happen? Would you remove the other 4 judges in the judiciary because they are holding a dissenting opinion? There is no constitutional infrastructure to do that. There's no architecture of the constitution to do that. So what my brother here is saying is that it is justified that the Cherera 4 were removed politically and unconstitutionally, and therefore, because that happened, then the president and the minister should unconstitutionally take a political process to punish the IG. What kind of country are we living in? Where, if it is convenient for politics, you can be able to do it just because it's politics. My friend here is talking about the issue of fraud and it's not in government. If you read the laws stringently, the committees of parliament are formed in a way that people actually go to parliament and vote for these committees. And once a committee has been formed, then you go and have members vote. We have got a situation whereby when Azimio was fighting so strongly against the government right at the inception of parliament of this particular 4th Senate, a member of his party at that time, a member of his coalition at that time called Senator Cherargei, was in a watchdog committee, which we call PAC, and that watchdog committee, Cherargei was elected vice chair by those members. But what is concerning, which is more fraud constitutionally, is that if you have taken, our law says under the Political Parties Act, Section 14E, I wanted to encourage you to go and read, if you have taken a solid position against the party that sponsored you into power, it shall be deemed that you have taken a different position from that party and therefore you resign and go and seek a new mandate. If he's not in government and he's claiming to be in UDA, is holding in UDA, why can't he go and seek? And we'll come to that political
a proper mandate about possible exit from parliament. Senator, allow me, because I know we can.
That's the fraud. But he has misquoted
the biggest fraud.
And I'll give you. He has misquoted me completely.
30 seconds.
You are politicizing. You're politicizing this.
I did not say, Fred, please. Eddie must start listening more than he talks.
Tell Kenyans.
I did not say that the Cherera 4 were removed in a way that I approved.
You just approved it.
I said, and you can even replay it, I said that even independent office holders, they are removed through the processes, but these processes are activated politically.
And therefore justifiable. And therefore justifiable.
But Eddie here is misleading Kenyans that I said that Cherera 4.
And therefore justifiable.
Why wouldn't you not listen? That's why you are making mistakes and misquoting me. Because listen more than you talk,
because
Eddie.
You're not following the Constitution.
I did not say they were removed constitutionally. I said that independent office holders are removed constitutionally. intentionally.
Is it justifiable?
These mechanisms,
yes,
these mechanisms
are
activated politically.
Is it justifiable? Is it justifiable?
I gave you time, please,
Senator,
Eddie. I think you can be able to hold your cool better.
Senator Nyoto, that is not the discussion I want us to have now. I know we can very easily digress into a very political discussion. We have very serious security matters to discuss.
Yes.
And that is the conduct of the IG and DIG, which we hope that the Houses of Parliament will individually or collectively take over now that the matters of that needs to be addressed at the highest level of the police service. Still on the police service, and this is another issue that still portends, is the fact that quite a number of people are still in court, and more have today, at least on page 4 of this paper, 7 more protesters have been charged with terror-related charges. And this is stemming from the June 25th protests and the demonstrations of Sabasaba Day. Now, this is an issue of legislation to a huge extent, that Parliament over time, and I know back in 2014 or when some of these laws were passed, most of you are not in the National Assembly, but there's always an intention of how a law or an act of Parliament is passed, the intended purpose of it. What I'm talking about is the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Yes? And what the intention behind it was, and what the police service is using it for right now. Do you think, Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, that what the police and the DCI and the ODPP are using now, the Prevention of Terrorism Act, is what the legislators who passed this act intended this law for?
Let us contextualize terrorism. When do we say this looks like or befits the description of a terror act? Terrorist acts target the security system of our country. They target the property of Kenyans. We've had several bombings in this country, especially in Nairobi, and we are alive to quite a number of them. Now, that act of a few individuals planning and executing actions that lead to mass destruction befit terrorism. That's basically why the act was there.
So you do agree that
the second thing, correct? Yes, the second thing is that who performs these acts is not necessarily non-Kenyans. Some of them have been Kenyans. Mm-hmm. Kenyans are recruited so that they can give the intelligence and even sacrifice themselves or blow themselves up as they blow so many people. We have seen it happening in this town. Now, when you, in the midst of a demonstration, a few individuals choose to target police stations, to ban police stations, whereas people are demonstrating and, you know, focusing on the theme of that option taken. Then a few individuals choose to, we have seen it in the television. You've seen clips of how people went and burnt vehicles, and then they blow up police station, some confront, and so on. I try to look at which law would you charge such people if it is not terrorism. Mm-hmm. Because it is planned and executed deliberately to destroy and weaken the police force. That's not the only thing. I would like to probably very, very briefly mention the incident in Meru. The burning of the Maguna's supermarket. I think the owner of Maguna's supermarket knew something was going to happen, because I heard the week before the Sabasaba, he had reinforced the supermarket, put double reinforcement. Reinforcement of the ground up to first floor, put all over, put metal, barricades, metal reinforcements all over. And then, what is the interpretation of this? He must have known something is wrong, and he was trying to protect himself. When you put such barricade, first of all, you want to keep the thief away. But then extra barricading tells you that he thinks some people will use force. And we have seen people using force even to try and break safes, the ATM safes and so on. The kind of force that probably was being used. Now, in this particular incident, we had petrol bombs thrown into the building. A few people who are very organized armed, and then caused that particular...
One member of parliament, your colleague, has been charged with terrorism.
I was in the meeting where Honorable Ndikiri spoke. Honorable Ndikiri said a normal thing. It was in the air that this supermarket has been reinforced. And then you think they were targeting many places like Magunas, which I hear has been, they have beefed up security, they have reinforced the supermarket. It doesn't mean, I don't think it meant that the Honorable Ndikiri knew who was planning this or who was to execute it. I don't think so.
It is how it has been used to charge even members of parliament. Prevention of terrorism.
If a member of parliament is associated,
as well,
is effectively associated with such actions. And we know, we know for sure it has happened. We know we have seen people planning things in this country and executing them.
Yet we have other laws that cover normal criminal issues, including the Penal Code and others. Bwana Lote.
My issue was that these are not, we cannot call these normal criminal activities. These are planned terror actions.
Bwana Lote, do you agree with your colleague that it is right for the police to use the Prevention of Terrorism Act against activists and even politicians in this matter?
Well, I think, Fred, it's important that we define what terrorism is. And I got it somewhere. I think if you can allow me just to read what that is. But as I look for it, because it is somewhere, it actually talks about use of violence to scare the state or to gain political. Okay, this is what it is. Terrorism is a calculated use of or the threat of violence to instill fear and coerce government or societies, often for political or religious ideology. If we define it that way, I do not have any other opinion apart from calling everybody that participated in whatever we call demonstrations as a terrorist, because that is exactly what it is intended to. The things that we see in our streets, when you burn a police station, when you actually attack a police officer, when you ban a whole institution of the county government in Murang'a, not Murang'a, but Nyandarua and Kiambu, when you do that and actually even attack individuals, members of parliament's homes, that basically means that you're targeting government. And if you listen to the people that are the planners of this thing, they are known. They are the people that actually even congratulated the youths and say you've done a good job. So it basically means that the things that we see in the streets is not as per Article 37 of the Constitution. It is actually an act of terrorism because they are trying to instill fear into the government. Actually, they are trying to overthrow government. If you see people going to parliament and burning parliament, if you see people organizing to go to State House to remove the president unconstitutionally, there is no other definition, Fred, here that we can say it is not terrorism. That is terrorism. You basically can put everything in that definition that is, as is read, these people are supposed to be judged by terror or terrorism. I cannot imagine anything apart from that. If you walk to any state, and I think I said it here before, there is the deportation of people from the US by what we call ICE, the military unit that is formed to deport people who are not having legal papers. And one officer, one sheriff in the state of Florida said it very clearly. He said you are allowed to demonstrate. But if you actually touch people's property and even try to threaten the police, they're going to shoot you dead. He said it, and he said we're going to inform your kin where to pick your body from, because that is the country that we call the most democratic country, and yet they are willing to use their military apparatus to protect property and destroy terrorism within that country. So we cannot try to play politics here. And I will want to say, two wrongs don't make a right. So that, Senator Nyutu, when we are discussing a matter that has been put before us, let us not try to go and create other issues so that it becomes political. Let us try to dissect this factor. Let us try to deal with that matter, because we can all politically look at everything. I can even be able to bring in the DCP person as the head of terrorism. But I don't want to do that, because that is not the matter we are discussing here. What we are discussing here, we are discussing terrorism. We keep it to terrorism.
Okay, Senator, there are those who argue that this is simply a weaponization of the criminal justice system to counter dissent by this administration?
Yes, and Fred, I want to protest that nobody can think for me. Nobody will tell me how to think and how to present my thoughts. So I will not allow my colleagues here, because they are pro-government, the three of them, to determine the particular way that I should think and present my thoughts. So I am free to present my thoughts. I'm talking about the issues that we are raising here, but I'm not talking about them in their language. I cannot use their language. So that must be made very clear. Because each one of them, when they come here, they say, Senator Nyeto is politicizing things. I mean, I am looking at everything from and allow me very quickly. Senator Eddie and he had the support of, I think, Honorable Mutunga, that I should have resigned from UDA because I do not support government. I mean, I've learned from the best. President Ruto in 2018 departed from the course that they had with Uhuru Kenyatta and started fighting Uhuru Kenyatta all the way. But he did not resign as deputy president or even resign as a member of Jubilee Party because we don't have party owners constitutionally. We have party leaders. I am part of the owners of UDA, being a member. President Ruto is not UDA. So when I criticize President Ruto, nobody has the right to tell me that I should resign from UDA because I'm not supporting President Ruto. Has Eddie moved to UDA now because he's supporting President Ruto? So you support President Ruto, the party leader, on your own volition, out of your own volition, out of your own independent thinking. It does not mean that support for President Ruto equals membership of UDA. So I'm in UDA by right, and I'll depart when I want. Just like we say where I come from, that I'll marry when I want. After all, the Catholic priest has always had no wife, and they live. I'll marry when I want. I'll leave UDA when I want, not when Eddie tells me, not when Mutunga tells me. I needed to make that very clear. I'll do it at the... no, it was Eddie. Sorry, Honorable Mutunga. It was Eddie. So, let things... I will not allow them to take away my rights. But let me address your question on terrorism. And Eddie, please don't misquote me again. This matter of terrorism, we must look at the historical background on why we introduced these anti-terrorist laws. It is when terrorism started becoming a problem to us. And I think the first major terrorist attack was in 1998, the bomb, that was done in Nairobi in 1998. And that is when we woke from, we were awakened that terrorism was a threat. How was it done? A whole building extending to other buildings bombed down. Hundreds of people died. Because we must be very, very careful, in my view. I'm not a lawyer, but in my view, we must be very careful not to treat arson as terrorism. Because I can tell you not too long ago, there is a family. All the family members were burnt. Somebody locked them from outside, dosed petrol into the building, burnt all of them, and the reason was a land dispute. I don't think they were charged with arson. Because, and I don't want to get into the legal, nitty-gritties because we may not be very competent here to deal with them. But then I had my colleagues talk about mass destruction. When you are talking about terrorism, it must be about mass destruction. Well, I do not want to delve into those matters because of the rule of sub judice. But we must ask ourselves also some hard questions when we are talking about, because this debate, I'm sure, is arising from the fact that there are some young people who are members of DCP party, not just members officials of DCP party, that have been charged under the Anti-Terrorism Act because of having, according to the matter in court, of having torched Kikuyu police station. We don't want to discuss the merits or demerits, of course, but there are things that people have been asking themselves. Mawego police station was also torched. nobody has been arraigned before court on anti-terrorism charges. So, because those are valid concerns, and those are the questions that when I raise, they are saying I'm departing and politicizing it. Now, so in this particular police station in Kikuyu, police had removed their vehicles before it happened. I mean, now personal vehicle was destroyed in Kikuyu police station. There was no response from the police in Kikuyu police station when it was touched. No attempt at responding to the impending attack and the attack itself. There was no police officer to respond. I mean, and so when we start saying that some of these things must not be politicized, when there is politics, we'll say there is politics. But anyway, the planners, I heard Honorable Lotte say that the planners of these attacks, the court will determine whether they are terrorist attacks or not, or they are just attacks. He has said that the planners are known. He should, as a responsible citizen, a leader in this country, the member for Kacheliba, present that information to the police. And the police then should take action against the planners. But we have had issues here with people. I don't know whether it was Honorable Mchunga who talked about, I cannot remember very well, who talked about people trying to see to it that you bring regime change through these attacks on police stations, through breakage of, people's supermarkets. Because according to the description that Lotte read here, it's somebody doing something to coerce government to do something. So maybe they may need to explain to me or to help me understand how when some crooks, whom by the way, the police never took any action against. Because, and I want to challenge them, any one of the people killed over the last 1 month during these protests, anyone who was killed, who was shot dead because they were found, breaking into a supermarket or somebody's business, all of them are innocent people, So the breakage of these supermarkets happened during the day, and there was no attempt. There was no response by the police. Okay. So these are the things we are saying we must not hide. So we are saying, let us be very careful not to invoke laws made to arrest some very serious criminal acts of terrorism, and invoke them and charge our citizens. And I'm not trying to say that anybody breaking a supermarket is not a criminal. That's a criminal. But police should take action. But we must be careful not to, again, respond, like I started by saying, against responding to mosquito bites with a hammer.
And that's the question, Senator Okech, I'm asking. It's the intention of the Prevention of Terrorism Act and what police are using it for. Because we are not devoid of laws, including the Public Order Act, the Penal Code and others, to charge people with different crimes, including murder and arson and others, before courts of law. Your party, ODM, has been known to have and hold demonstrations, some which have turned violent and have resulted in the destruction of property to some extent. Does that equate to terror? And should such people be subjected to terror-related charges? Is the intention of the Prevention of Terrorism Act the correct piece of legislation to use in such instances?
This is a very hard discussion, Fred. And the reason why it's hard is because we are finding ourselves in a place whereby violence, whichever form of violence and the magnitude of violence, in a situation where you find yourself in protests, demos, picketing, all this. We are trying to codify violence by police and violence by the public, members of the public. And that codifying of violence is an unfortunate situation because when the Gen Z started the demos, or rather, actually it was protests. It was a brilliant thing because number one, it was amorphous, it was leaderless as they said it, and it was indeed leaderless, which in mature democracies, apart from France, which has got a different problem, and I could explain if I had time, right? France demonstrations and even celebrations are always violent. You saw what happened when PSG won the Champions League. France was burning, right? So it's got a different connotation. But if you look at other countries, today if you go to the US, because I was in the US for about 7-8 years, you'll find people going to demonstrate amorphously outside White House, which is the equivalent of our State House. And they will go peacefully against, and they will demonstrate anywhere, including the Capitol equivalent. And the demos will be very peaceful, organized amorphously, people holding whatever they are holding, and then go back home peacefully. We must appreciate Gen Zs for almost getting to that extent. When you look at the genesis of the Gen Zs, because they came with a smartphone, water bottles, a flag. Last year, majority of the protests that they were doing, that were swelling, were like that. And in the beginning of those protests, there was no confrontation between them and the police. Why? Because they were peaceful. What happened, in my view, in my humble view, is that there are some political class that have killed a beautiful movement by Gen Zs. That political class could be in form of what you call activists, or in form of what you call political voices that are anti-government, that then took advantage of these protests and then weaponized them. Now in that weaponization, confrontation has come between the police and rioters. And in that case, you cannot identify that this is an activist, this is a Gen Z. It will eat everybody. So the first thing that I must say is that the police are not justified in whichever form to meet violence, in whichever magnitude, against demonstrators, to the extent that we have seen the deaths that we have seen in this country. That's not justified. The element of violence, in whichever form, by the institution that's supposed to protect protesters, cannot be tolerated, Fred. And that's why we, as ODM, have held the view, and I was on this show with you, Fred, against the bill by a member of ODM called Honorable Pasaris, who was trying to gag demonstrations where they should happen or whatever. This is not us. This is something we cannot allow, limitation of Article 37 of the Constitution. But then on the other side, the freedom that we enjoy to be able to go and picket, demonstrate under Article 37 starts with Article 1 of the Constitution. I'm going to try and make it a quick summary. It starts by saying sovereignty of this country lies with us, the people. And we must exercise it according to the Constitution. What is according to the Constitution? Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which gives us like rights that cannot be taken away from us, including demonstration, including picketing, how to socialize. If you read Article 24 of the Constitution, okay, before you get to Article 37 of the Constitution, those rights come with responsibility. Yes. And allow me to rush you a bit. Just wait. Don't cut me because of the thought process. I'm just going to make it short. How do you account, Fred, when in the middle of the demonstration, some people have gone into the hospital, looted it, stopped the operation of the cesarean section in Kitengela, killed or almost maimed people, killed people by those actions, because then you put people in a situation whereby they cannot be able to get service in those hospitals? Will that be a crime? And if it's a crime, what crime would you call it? I don't want to call it terrorism because it seems sensational to call it terrorism. No. This is a fact. They are being charged with terror-related. No, I'm asking you. This is the way it is criminal for the police to shoot, kill, maim during protests. It's a criminal for me because that's what the Constitution allows them to do. But then, how do you account for people who have gone to the police station? So you feel the police are correct? It's not about being correct. We're having a national conversation here, Fred. We're having a national conversation that we cannot allow police to kill, to do anything bad to the people. But
Senator,
I wanted us to
a direct
account.
question. Yes, because it is the use of this Prevention of Terrorism Act to judge people or to charge people who've been taking part in demonstrations, however violent, because ODM, and that's why I use the example of ODM, they've carried out protests that have turned violent and have resulted in destruction of property. Is the Prevention of Terrorism Act the correct law to use on some of those people who've been arrested in those instances?
And I'm codifying the kind of violence. I've coded the kind of violence that the police have been found to have done, which is shooting, which is then the crime then becomes murder, right? You cannot say that the crime is any other thing than murder. It is murder, isn't it? The police are shot somebody under our laws, right? This is murder, and that's why the case with Kariuki is in court with the police. So I'm asking you, when some people have gone to the hospital and done what they did as a crime, how do you call that crime? I don't know. You can advise me as well.
So you do not have a clear answer?
It's not about clear answer. Is it first of all a crime?
Dr. Munyide said clearly that he agrees with the police using this act. And I wanted to get your opinion. Do you agree with the police using this act in this instance?
First of all, it's not about, because I think that sometimes we get into simple headlines.
No.
The simple headlines here is this thing a terror act?
The Kahawa courts are specifically for terror-related charges.
Yes.
That is where Boni Mwangi was taken.
Yes.
Yes? Mm-hmm. Eventually, the ODPP dropped those charges.
Yes.
Because it figured it did not meet the threshold. So
there are two questions here, Fred. There are two questions of the kind of people who have been arrested and the kind of crimes that have been committed. We have to separate those two.
We're talking about
because when we talk about Boniface Mwangi was not arrested in...
Manyata MP Mukunji was arrested on the same and charged with the same.
You know, in this country, Fred, if you've been in this country, there's even an issue around what you call humanitarian crime against humanity.
Senator, I'm not getting an answer from you.
No, you are getting the answer. It's just that you're choosing, you want to hear it in the way that you, that you want to hear it. The question that I'm asking you, and devoid of who has been arrested, for instance, the issue of Mwangi, the issue of Mukunji, the issue of other political players, because that is where you lose the point, in the sense that if it is a political player or if it is a renowned activist, then the issue is lost in terms of the crime that has been committed. You get what I mean? The issue that we must decode as a country is that can we get to a point where this act of violence in protests, whether by people who are jacking this...
Allow me to probably change the question a bit.
Yes.
Do you think to some extent and in some instances the police are misusing or abusing the Prevention of Terrorism Act towards countering dissent?
I don't think so.
So they're correct in using it?
I don't think so. And I think that the reason why it is very difficult to encode this kind of conversation is because we want to eliminate the crime and focus on the individuals who have been arrested.
So the police are correct?
The question would be, did Boniface Mwangi, for instance, plan this kind of crime?
Okay.
And that is up to the courts, and the courts have actually vindicated Boniface Mwangi, which is okay. Yes. But I don't want you as Fred and me as a citizen to blind ourselves from the fact that our hospital was attacked, a police station was burned. Even here, this TV47, somebody could just come during protest when you're on TV here and come and attack this premise. Yes. And then how do you deal with that?
Because we have only 8 minutes to go.
That's what I was discussed, that we must stop the issue of hijacking protests that are peaceful and weaponizing them to destroy property.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked you that is because of the intention of those people who worked on the piece of legislation.
And to be very clear.
Prevention of Anti-Terror Acts and others, including the Public Order Act.
And to be very clear, because John Newton said that he will follow the law when he wants to follow the law. Like they say.
No. Allow me.
Let me just finish.
Dr. Mutunga.
I don't interject, but hear him again lie.
Dr. Mutunga, it is 2 minutes.
Where did I say
Senators, please.
I'll follow the law when I want?
We only have 7 minutes now. And I'll take away your time for your final comments.
Thank you.
Dr. Mutunga, you have 2 minutes.
I have listened very carefully to Eddie, and he has been able to bring out quite a number of issues very clearly. Let me start.
I didn't get a straight answer from
the Honorable Lote's definition of terrorism. Number one, it is calculated violence. A demonstration is happening, but on the sidelines, there are people who are calculating violence, and you have seen it. Otherwise, Demonstrations were not going to the police stations. Demonstrations were not going to particular individuals' property. They were happening on the streets. The second issue is that it could also be calculated threat. And why the threat? To instill fear and or coerce the government or society, and it is often used under certain circumstances. Number one, for political expediency or for ideological purposes or for religious purposes. That definition of terrorism is extremely clear and paints the picture as we see it now. We have seen many demonstrations in this country which are peaceful and unarmed. Teachers have demonstrated many times, and they have always gotten collective bargaining agreements. They've always achieved their objective. Doctors and others, nurses, they have done it. But the kind of demonstrations we're having right now, you just take advantage of a procession to do other things, to try and threaten the government. Let me say this. Article 37 is very, very clear. Be peaceful, don't carry arms. These ones are not peaceful, and they are armed. Then finally, let me say this. When you read the article, the Bill of Rights, we should also look at Article 24, the delimitation on the Bill of Rights, which basically conditions us to balance under which conditions to individual rights and freedoms, what restricts the individual rights and freedoms. Chief among them is to make sure that the interests of the society are sustained.
Okay.
As we express our individual rights and freedoms, we should not interfere with the interests of the society.
Right.
When you burn somebody's property, you're interfering. When you burn a police station, crimes happening in such a region, where would they take?
It is definitely a crime. It is definitely a crime. Yeah. The question is, are we using the proper laws to charge these people? Lotte, final comment on this?
Opinion, yes.
About a minute and a half.
My final comment is, if we look at the definition of terrorism, as you said and as I read it earlier, basically what we are talking about fits into it. And so we cannot depart, we cannot politicize it, we cannot look at it otherwise. If those people are allowed to continue to go on like this, surprisingly, Fred, and unfortunately, we're going to lose this state. And we cannot continue playing around fire and thinking that we are not going to burn. This state can disappear just because of this street protest. And so this is an act of terrorism. Normal protest, as per Article 37, cannot bring down a state. But this protest we're saying, these demonstrations we're saying, are calculated, and their main aim is not to remember Sabasaba people or anything. It is basically to bring down the state, and that is it. And I said initially, there are people who are actually being quoted congratulating the demonstrators for even burning people's property. So that is terrorism as per the definition. What I'll say last, Fred, as my last parting shot, is that let us try now to go back to history, because this kind of issues that has happened now in the city and to other communities are now bringing up debates that are very palpable. Some of us have gone through communities. If you go to Kachaliba, where I come from, the Pokot community has suffered under state terrorism for a long time. People have been killed for flimsy reasons, and nobody talked about it. I think it is time for us now to even go back historically and look at who were on the seats when such people were being killed for nothing. Fred Matiang'i, the cabinet secretary, the former cabinet secretary, now becomes an angel. At that time, he said, police is going to use this force against you. Somebody called Natembeya, the governor of Tanzania, when he was sitting at the Ministry of Interior as a regional commander, he actually ordered for mass extinction of people from the Pokot community. Okay. And now he talks as though he is an angel. He also needs to account for the terrorism that he actually meted on the people of Kachaliba and the Pokot in large, being called terror cattle rustlers, and yet they are not.
Okay. Point made. Senator, as you make your final comment, as a member of UDA, I know you've raised that issue over and over again, and I know as you give your parting shot, they say that UDA bigwigs are planning an exodus. You already say you're a rebel within the party. Are you part of this exodus, and do you think the party is dead? According to the chief whip, the Senate majority whip, the party is dead.
Let me start by responding to your question by making it very clear that I'm aspiring to be a bigwig. I'm not yet a big wig. I pray that God is going to make me a big wig. So that headline does not apply to me. I'm still a very small member of UDA. But let me respond to the important question so that at least it can appease my colleagues who say I keep deviating, even when they are the worst deviators, if there's such a word. The police must prevent. Actually, anti-terrorism, this war has been won, because we must commend Kenya, the anti-terrorism police unit. I mean, the war against terror has been won, basically not on, taking action against terrorists, but preventing terrorism, prevention. So I think I would be more comfortable and happier about my country if I saw, more effort in prevention than, taking action against sometimes some very innocent people. Because the police must be able to separate people demonstrating lawfully and criminals infiltrating. So you cannot take away the right of Kenyans to demonstrate as per Article 37, and in the guise of, these people want to bring down government. You cannot condemn demonstrators wholesale. The police must be able to separate criminals from demonstrators and take action against them. We have not seen that. So let the police prevent what now they are calling terrorist acts, and not just take action. How many terrorist attacks have we been able to foil after it has happened? Like I started by saying, it has been through prevention. So more investment in prevention is better than everything else. But we must unmask Eddie, because Eddie here wants me, and I think I have a lot of pity for Eddie, because, Eddie is a smart person, he's a bright person. But since they joined government, you can see him even misquoting me here, because he does not listen. All he cares is where I support government. Where I don't, he even misquotes me. Now, you have heard him say that I said I choose when to follow the law and when not to. Because for him, not supporting President Ruto is law. Because that's what I say. No. I did not interrupt you, please. That's what I say. So if you are not, according to Eddie, and the goodies they are getting in government, if you are anti-Ruto, then you are not following the law. I just want to remind Eddie. Which goodies? And I thank him. Because you see, he says last year, when the Gen Zs were protesting, they had no problems with the police. Oh, what a lie. I mean, last year, when the Gen Zs demonstrated, that is when we had so many cases after that particular day. That is when we had so many problems of abductions and that kind of thing. And now, Eddie will tell you today, because he has submitted that way, that it is okay to charge these young men and women under the Anti-Terrorism Act. But see how careful he was? They are not supporting Esther Passari's bill that curtails, that is intended at curtailing demonstration.
Do I have the right of response?
Because Eddie is smart.
Do I have
Eddie knows that by October of 2027, they need to be insulated because they will be on the streets. That's one I can assure you. Even if they support Ruto and Ruto wins, by 2027 October, Ruto will have betrayed them, and they will need to go back to the streets. That's why he's so smart. He says, we cannot support this bill. They are keeping the door. They know they need to demonstrate because they surely will.
Okay.
They surely will. And that one I can assure you. So he's smart, but
I think
you have to remind him President Ruto is not law. So when I say I'm not supporting him, you cannot say that I'm saying that I'll follow the law when I want.
I think on the comment around that Gen Zs were not having problem with police, it's unfair to misquote me, because I said that I gave a progression of where the movement of Gen Z started, and when it started peacefully, it's a fact. I did not say that this year is when they have problems with police. I said they started having problems with the police, right, at the point that they got infiltrated. And that point is not this year. It started sometimes last year when infiltration started by criminal gangs. And the same way Newt is saying that we need to identify these gangs, how does a gang look like in its context? Does it look like if it's Newt who is in a suit, he has not got potential of being a criminal in planning crime during protest? Are you trying to say that if somebody is in a suit or is a member of parliament or is a member of civil society, then they don't codify as potential criminals who can then be able to plan an event? Are you just saying that it's young people who can be able to do that on their isolation? That's not what we are saying. We are just saying that those criminals must be held accountable. And the context in which I have said that Newt is choosing which law to follow is because he said that just like in Catholic, where you can choose when to marry, then you can choose to follow which law he wants to follow.
Okay.
That's what he's saying.
Time. Allow me, gentlemen, to end this here.
Come from the party,
Dr. Mutunga,
not the law, but for you, the law is
15 seconds.
it's not true. And the UDA. And that is a problem.
When you say the police should prevent, in the context of a demonstration, then the police should prevent. And then you say Article 37 should be allowed to operate fully. Are you not contradicting?
Preventing terrorism, that's what he said. Not preventing.
Yes, isolate, identify the individuals and prevent them from causing.
Okay.
They are planning.
Allow me to acknowledge you.
Anybody carrying an arm.
Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga.
Anybody carrying a weapon. Anybody carrying a weapon, you can.
Allow me to acknowledge you. Allow me to acknowledge you, Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, Senator, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West. Titus Lote, MP Kachiliba, and thank you for being at least calm. Yeah. Exactly. John Nyoto, Senator Muranga, and Eddie Okech, Senator Migori. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Muranga is the major object of my three co-panelists.
And you say you're not a bigwig. Thank you for
your... They're enjoying the lives of government.
Aspiring to be.
They're enjoying government.
After the break, we switch gears, talk matters relationships. When love turns violent, just like it's turning very uncomfortable for some UDA members. Richard Ziwa, Zimbalist, and Beatrice Muragori, councillors, will be in studio with my colleague Audit. To stand by for that. Thank you so much, gentlemen. My name is Freddie Ndemuli. Good morning.